All right, here are our Quiz 5 solutions for Math 111. In this first problem, we're kind of two parts to it. We're given different functions and asked to find the average average rate of change. Anyways, if you're going to do this, you better know the average rate of change formula. Kind of like a slope formula. It's the change in the y values over the change in the x values. Because really all we're figuring out is the slope of the secant line that goes through these 2 points. So if you kind of look at this formula, you need to know 4 things. You need to know, maybe I'll drop down a line, the 2 y's and the 2 x's. It gives us the 2 x's, that's good. I know that x2 is 3 plus h, and x1 is 3. So really, if I could just find what y2 and y1, I'd be all done. Unfortunately, we can. y1 is what comes out of this function when you put x1 into this function. So it's f of 3. F of x is x over x plus 2. So f of 3 would be 3 over 3 plus 2. In other words, 3/5. Similarly, y2 is what comes out when you put x2, 3 plus h, into this machine. So f of x is x over x plus 2. F of 3 plus h is 3 plus h over 3 plus h plus 2. Which we can simplify as 3 plus h over, 3 and 2 gives 5, maybe 5 plus h, or h plus 5, however you want to write that. So now, over here, I figured out all the pieces, or all the remaining pieces that I need to figure out my average rate of change. So y2, 3 plus h, divided by 5 plus h. And y1 is 3 over 5. So now, I have the answer here, it's just not simplified. All I gotta do is simplify this mess. The way you can simplify it is find a common denominator, make these 2 fractions one fraction. So multiply the top and the bottom here by 5 plus h. That's not 5 plus h. And multiply the top and the bottom here by 5. And if you do all that, you get 15 plus 5h over on the left. Then you get minus 3 times 5 plus h over on the right. All that is over my common denominator of 5 times 5 plus h. And all of that is over 3 plus h minus 3. 3 minus 3 is just 0, so this is all just over h. Okay, I guess I'll go to the right here a little bit. 15 plus 5h. Kind of wish I had shown less steps, but okay. 15 plus 5h, if I take this negative 3 and distribute it through, I get minus 15 minus 3h. Um, 15 minus 15, those cancel out. 5h minus 3h, I'm left with just 2h. So I have 2h over 5 times 5 plus h divided by h. You can think about that as h over 1, so that you got a fraction over a fraction, because we have a way to divide fractions. It's kind of like multiplying fractions, but you multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator. Note that now these h's cancel out, and I'm left with just 2 over 5 times 5 plus h. You can take this 5 and distribute it through if you want. That's totally fine. I don't care. Maybe I'll even write that. Or 2 over 25 plus 5h. I don't care. I don't know what's simpler out of these two. They're both pretty simple. So either one's good. Next problem, really it's the same idea. Average rate of change. Maybe I'll switch colors. It's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. See, I know x2 is a plus h. x1 I know is a. That's all given to me in the problem. y2 is what I would get if I put a plus h into this function. In other words, it's negative 2 over a plus h. And y1 is negative 2 over a. So to figure out the average rate of change now, it's this thing I want to simplify. In the denominator here, a plus h minus a, it's just h. This a and this negative a cancel out. In the numerator, I'm going to have to get a common denominator, but actually I don't like having all these negatives. what I'm going to do is say this is negative 2 over a plus h plus 2 over a. Instead of minus and negative, let's make it plus. Don't have to worry about all those negative signs. One less thing to mess up as you're going through all your algebra here. So now, like above, I'll have to find a common denominator. And I'll get that by multiplying this side by a over a. And this side by a plus h over a plus h. And if you carefully collect all your like terms and distribute stuff through, you get negative 2a plus 2a plus 2h. It's all divided by a times a plus h. And that's all divided by h. Negative 2a plus 2a, those cancel out. So what I get is 2h over a times a plus h, all divided by, again, instead of thinking about this as h, I'll think about it as h over 1, so that in the next step, I can divide those rational expressions, think about them like fractions, by multiplying by the reciprocal of the denominator. H's cancel, get a final answer of 2 over a times a plus h. And like I did before, if you distributed that a through, that's fine. I don't care. Either way is totally fine. All right, moving on. Oh, that looks weird. Sketch a graph of this thing. So what I'm saying is h is this function that I'm showing you right here. Sketch a graph of this thing. So what you need to know is there's two transformations here. This one, which we're going to shift down 1. And this one, maybe I'll even say subtract 1 from your y values. And then this negative 2 here, it's a, well, depends how you think about it. It's a vertical stretch, but really what we're going to do is multiply our x values. It's not true. We're going to multiply our y values, because it's a vertical stretch, by negative 2. And then something that's important is the order you do these in. It's imperative that you do this one first and this one second. So let's see, I have a y value right here of negative 2. If I multiply negative 2 times negative 2, I get positive 4. I have a y value here of positive 1. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Y value here of positive 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. And positive 1 is a y value times negative 2. That gets me there. It's kind of an intermediate step. If I just apply that first transformation, I get a graph that looks more or less like that. But I'm not done. I still have to shift this thing down by 1. So I have to subtract 1 from all the different y values. This y value is now 4. I don't want it to be 4. I want it to be 3. This one's negative 2. I want to subtract 1 from that to get negative 3. 1 less than negative 4 is negative 5. And again, 1 less than negative 2 is negative 3. So what I get for my final answer, try my best to connect the dots with something that resembles a curve, which is very hard to do on a computer. Maybe I'll even label that final answer. Is this. So that big mess is our transformations. Maybe I'll shade it in to try to make it look less messy, even though that's probably only going to make it look more messy. Yeah, actually, that's not bad. All right, anyways, moving on. Switch colors. Do it again. A, huh? It's interesting. I guess this should say A up here, and this should say B down here. Not that it really matters. Okay, two transformations again. This negative 3 right here. This is a horizontal transformation. I'm affecting the x-coordinate. So what I'm going to do here is add, how about subtract negative 3, which is the same as adding 3 to my x-coordinate. And this 1/2 right here, I'm going to have to multiply my x-coordinate by something. But it's not by 1/2, it's by the reciprocal of 1/2. I'm going to multiply my x's by 2. You might think 1/2, but the reciprocal of 1/2 is 2, and that's what I multiply the x values by. Furthermore, I got to make sure I do this one first and this one second. So if I add 3 to all the x coordinates, this x coordinate used to be -1, 1, 2, 3, ends up over here. This x coordinate used to be -2, 1, 2, 3. This x coordinate used to be -3, 1, 2, 3, it goes to 0. And this one used to be -4. Add 3, gets to -1. So it's kind of an intermediate step. I got this graph right here. But that's not my final answer because I still have to multiply all the x coordinates by 2. So this x coordinate is now 2. 2 times 2 is 4. This x coordinate is currently 1. 1 times 2 is 2. This x coordinate is currently 0. 0 times 2 is just 0. This x coordinate is -1. -1 times 2 is -2. So what I get for my final answer is something that looks something like that. Final answer, get through all these dots that it was supposed to get through, try to maintain the overall shape of this curve, although I don't really care that much. This thing right here is my final answer. And that's good. I guess that's the end of the quiz.